Hi everyone, this is Holly from Hot Humble Pie. Welcome to my spring series. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you click that button. I'm going to start with this Dollar Tree Easter egg here. I just went ahead and gave it one coat of homemade white chalk paint. I've got a video on that. It will be linked down below in my description box. I made a video about a year and a half ago or 2 years, and it was an excellent recipe, but that ingredient is a little hard for some people to find, so I made another one that works just as well, and you can check it out if you're interested. I'm also using these Dollar Tree little wood bunny cutouts, and I'm taking their lightweight spackling. I mixed it with a little bit of paint to make it a little heavier because it was a bit too fluffy for me, and I'm filling in the holes on the top of those bunny ears. And then I decided to take some white chalk paint and add a little bit of the apple barrel pink paint to it just to get a super soft pink, and gently dry brush this egg. And now using a utility knife and this metal ruler, you can use any ruler, you can use anything that's straight and hard. I'm just scoring the board. I'm putting little grooves in it to give it shiplap lines. I just think that looks more realistic than drawing it on. Sometimes I'll draw it on, it just depends. But lately I've really enjoyed the look of scoring the board, and I do it twice to make them really deep too, so they look real. And now using some antique wax, and you can use any brand antique wax you want for this method. I'm just distressing the edges of this egg a little bit. I'm painting it on and then using a little bit of tissue to wipe it off and make it a little bit blurry and muted. I just like that look for this particular craft. Sometimes I leave it straight on there. It doesn't matter. It's totally personal preference. You can do whatever you want. And I'm using the same brush that has very little wax left on it, and I'm just adding a little bit of distressing and shadows and character to the front of the egg as well. And now using some of the Dollar Tree florals, I'm going to go ahead and kind of place them and cut them where I want them to be on the top of this. I'm leaving this in because a lot of you ask me to do that, because I guess I used to just show the finished result. And there was a bunch of you that came on and said, could you please show us how you're doing the flowers, because that helps give me ideas as well. So that's how I do it. I just kind of cut and bend their wires. So I bend the flowers down a little bit to take the shape of the egg. I'm putting a little bit more hot glue on top, and then I'm adding a floral bow with some ribbon that I got 50% off at Hobby Lobby. And now I'm adding just the center there to cover the twine that I wrapped in the middle to make the bow. If you want to know how I make my bows, I made a video about that covers every single bow I ever make in any video, so that I didn't have to do a mini tutorial in each video to save you guys time. And that video is time stamped, so if you want to see which bow I made, that one's just a 2-loop bow. It's really simple, and you can check it out on that video. So now I'm taking some sandpaper. I just sanded a little bit where I did the spackling, and I'm taking some of the wax and a baby wipe, and I'm going to stain these bunnies. Now the spackling did not stain as well as the wood. It kind of resisted the stain. So to compensate for that, you'll see that I darken the tip of the bunny ears, kind of darken the back, the top of the bunny, and I put a little shadow in the center to kind of define the two separate ears as well, and it comes out really, really cute. So now I'm taking a blow dryer, and I'm just giving my bunnies a quick blow dry, because the wax doesn't dry as fast as a stain would, or as a water-based stained would. I used to use one that I absolutely loved, but I'm not buying it because I'm trying to use what I have. And of course, it's always so much more fun to craft when you can do it on the cheap, so I encourage you guys to do that too, especially with the Dollar Tree prices going up and everything going up. The wax and water-based stained, there are some different applications that I prefer one or the other over, but I can make it work, and if I end up using that application in the future, I will show you guys how you do it and make it work. So I just took some Spanish moss, I put it on this egg here. I'm just cutting it as flush as I can with the egg without causing bald spots. But when I turn it over, I see this metal bunny and I'm like, oh, cool. I am using that for the next DIY. So that will be the next upcoming DIY. And now we're just going to take a little hairspray, mist that Spanish moss so it doesn't crumble all over my floor when it's hanging on my wall. And that's it. I think this came up so cute. It's got such soft Easter spring colors. It's perfect for farmhouse, cottage, or primitive crafts. And I hope you guys like it too. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now at my Dollar Trees, you can find these little puzzle kits here in the kids section, and the back of them are wood, and they make great pieces of wood for signs. And I've got this as a free printable down below in my description box. I'm going to go ahead and make a cute sign out of this. Now you can handle this several ways. You can take the letters out on the back and glue them back in if you want it nice and flat. I just took mine out because I actually think I might use those letters for a future DIY, and I didn't worry about it. I covered my back with a little bit of cardstock and called it a day, but no one's going to be seeing the back of this anyway. It's going to be up on my mantle this year. I'm using a little bit of Mod Podge and a Dollar Tree sponge, and I'm just trying to keep it where I want my image to be. I'm going to glue this down, and you're going to see me here in a minute decorate this frame. This is a fun method that I've shown in previous videos. If you just want to dress up your frames a little bit and make them a bit fancier, you just use a hot glue gun and you make little twirls and swirls and pretty little designs all around your frame. And then I'm going to show you how you go about bringing that out. And for those of you that are intimidated to do this, please don't be, because it really doesn't have to be perfect. You can even go over, like if one area is too flat, you can go over it again. You can remelt the glue, lots of different ways. And it seems like anything that you do just adds that little bit more character to your frame. So don't be nervous to try this, just go for it. So now I'm going to take a little bit of my white chalk paint. Now this is the homemade chalk paint here, but I pour it in the other container because it's got a nice lid. I just didn't, again, I guess I'm trying to recycle and use everything I have. So this is, I think it says it's Folklore chalk paint, but it's not. It's my homemade inside that jar. But anyway, I'm just taking my sponge here and just painting over everything. You can see what I'm doing. I'm just painting over my little design, kind of smushing the paint all around the edges. Again, if some wood is peeking out, don't worry about it. The more imperfect it is, the more perfect and really pretty it's going to look when you're done. And now I'm taking a tissue, not a baby wipe. I'm just using a tissue here and a little bit of the wax, and I'm gently going over all my little swirls on the surface. And then now and again, I'm just kind of moving down below the swirls to get the wood area. And you just get this beautiful result that, like I said, really dresses it up and makes it look more expensive. I also purposely hit the edges of the paper, and instead of tearing it, I kind of hit the edges a little bit with white chalk paint. You don't have to do this. You can either do it neat or you can tear the paper. It's up to you. I just like it that way. And when I'm happy with the final look here, I'm going to make a stand for this, and I'm going to make it a little bit higher because this is a bigger sign and it's going to need more support. So I glue 4 of the towering blocks on top of each other, 2 side by side, and then glue it on the side to make the letter L. And then I glue that one at an angle, and I do that just by piling up hot glue underneath so that it sits at an angle, because I want my sign to lean backwards. This is going to be on my mantle. And I did mist this with hairspray. By the way, just those of you who are sometimes you ask, did you seal that? Sometimes it's clear polyacrylic, sometimes it's hairspray, this time it's hairspray. And here's that bunny from the first DIY. I thought this was so cute. This is why I put the image a little bit lower. It adds a nice rustic touch, and we're all done. this next DIY is really easy. I don't even know if we can call it a DIY, but I wanted to show it separately because I'm using it in upcoming DIYs a couple of times here. And I painted all of these eggs at one time. So they were the styrofoam eggs from the Dollar Tree. They had a bow on the bottom. I took the bow off and then I put them back on their stake. And then I'm just kind of tapping that sponge in there because that way you get into all the little crevices because it is a little bumpy. And I smooth it out and then I put it in a jar like that for all of them to dry. Once they were dry, I dry brushed on some of the antique wax onto each one of the eggs. I think I left three, where I just left it white because I made them blue. But this was, well, I'm trying to imitate or copy some wild eggs that I saw online of real bird eggs. And this is, it did come out looking identical. I wish I had gotten the name of the eggs actually, which species that was. But you just tap that blue on from the Dollar Tree. I bought some acrylic paint from the Dollar Tree that was blue. It was more like a glaze. So if you use a blue, make sure it's a soft turquoise blue like that color right there, and you just tap it on. And I also tapped it on this one where I just left it white. I did 3 of these so that I just had a soft blue with little speckles of darker blue in it, and I think they came up absolutely gorgeous. They really do look like wild eggs. So that was for the next DIY here. This is a sign I got at Walmart. It's a Christmas sign and it was 90% off, so I think I only spent, gosh, it was below $1. I think it was actually 70 something cents. I'm not sure. It may have been 95% off. I remember thinking it was cheaper than the Dollar Tree. And I thought it would make a super cute Easter DIY. Now I'm doing the same method I did in the video before this one, and I wanted to do it again. A lot of you absolutely loved it in the comments, including me. I loved it. It worked out way better than what I thought. I had an idea like all of us do with crafting. We try something, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and this is a great method for a faux birchwood. But I put that DIY on my front door, so I wanted it inside my house. So what you do is you just take 2 pieces of tissue, you know how they're 2-ply, you peel them apart, you put 1 layer down, you can put it on top of any flat surface. This works great for flat surfaces. I can't vouch for any cylinder shape. I've never tried it. I think it would work, but you'd probably have to glue them together on, where the 2 ends meet on the other side in order for it to work. I'm not sure, but that's how I would approach it. Now it does stick to this Dollar Tree pan here. It's no big deal. You just cut it off, and then I'm cutting around the edges, and you'll see me take some sandpaper to clean those edges up really nice and clean. But you get this nice hard faux bark look, I guess. And I sand the top of it. It kind of shreds the pieces that are like up too high, which makes it look even more legit like bark. And it works great, and it's super fast and easy, and you can put the possibilities are endless. You can use any colors you want, make any kind of wood you want. Super easy way to make faux wood. So I'm using gray here. Any brand of paint, any color gray would work for this. I do a little dry brushing of that to bring out those designs, and now I'm using the antique wax. Brown paint would probably work for this. The water-based stain would work for this. Anything. And if you add those little knots like I show in my video on how to do DIY, check that out too. That's a great DIY easy birchwood, and definitely works on cylinder shapes. If you do the little knots like that, you have a birchwood right here, or whatever kind of wood you want. So I was really, really excited about it. And of course, with this one, you can add the little hole. This is what I did on the video last time. I did the little hole. I wanted to show you guys. I just used wax and the gray paint. You can make a little bird hole. I wanted to leave this really plain this time. I think I might either take a wine cork or a little piece of wood, cut it down. Maybe I have to think. I'm still thinking about it, and glue it on the front like a little perch. I'm not sure. I kind of like it the way it is. But I'm taking the Spanish moss, and I created a little nest. I actually made an indentation there so that I could put my eggs inside it, and I'm going to trim it so that it stands up straight. This is one of those DIYs though that my family loves it so much that nobody wants me to change it. That's why I'm kind of hesitating on what I want to do. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, if I should add that little like perch or not. But I just add some lavender, I add my faux eggs, and that's it. And this is absolutely gorgeous. I hope the camera does it justice. It's a perfect like fit for cottage, farmhouse, primitive, French country, you name it, but I absolutely love it. for this next DIY here, we're going to be using that Dollar Tree candlestick right there, taking the price tag off and the little tray. I believe that is a candle holder tray. It doesn't come under dishes if you're looking for it. It comes under a candle holder. So I'm taking some of the Gorilla Super Glue here because I want a permanent hold, and I'm just going to put little dots of it here and there, and then I'm going to put little dots of the hot glue in between that glue. I don't mix it because I've done that before, and sometimes that absolutely messes it up. It makes everything dry instantly and it won't hold. But the hot glue obviously holds it in place instantly so that I can start painting it, and then the other one holds it permanently. So I'm going to glue that in the center, and when it dries, I'm going to give it one coat of chalk paint. I'm going to do the top first and let that dry, put it to the side, and then you'll see me flip it over later and do the underside. So I found these really gorgeous ceramic eggs at the Dollar Tree this year. They had different letters on them. I chose the one with M because I thought that would be great to give to your mother. Or if you have a last name, of course, or a first name that starts with M, it's perfect. But to be honest, even if I didn't have a last name or first name or a mother, I still would just purchase. I wanted to purchase a couple of them with different letters on because I just think it looks really cool and antique-ish. And I think, I'm not sure, but I'm like 90% sure that if you took some hard grit sandpaper, you probably could sand this flat if you didn't want the letters on it and just have like a flush, not have the letter there at all if you didn't like it, but I liked it, so I left it. And I'm giving it one coat of chalk paint, and I'm setting that aside, and while that dries, I'm going to go ahead and finish up my little, mini little tier tray there. That's not a tier tray, that's just a riser, I think. It doesn't have any tiers, you guys. It has only one tray. So that's just a stand, like a little mini stand. And I'm adding the gray color to distress it. I love that look with these little mini risers or little mini trays. I think that is so cute, the gray and white. And for the egg, I chose to use the antique wax, brush it on, and kind of wipe it off to mute it and soften it again and blur it and make it look pretty. I'm just going for a really soft, muted look this time in this video. Looks that cross over into the cottage core, farmhouse, French country, even primitive, because primitive does use a little color for the holidays. And that way, I've been getting so many requests and so many varied requests. I thought I would do a video that crosses over to all the different genres so everybody can have something that they can make. So here I'm using the lace from Hobby Lobby. I cut it down the center there to make it thinner, and it was 50% off. I won't buy any ribbon at Hobby Lobby or Michael's unless it's 50% off because it's way too expensive. But when it's on sale, it's pretty close to the Dollar Tree, so I treat myself. And I just glue that on top, and then a little cream silk flower from the Dollar Tree on top to cover the twine. And then, as you see, I put the Spanish moss down, separated it in the middle so that my egg would sit nice and flat, and I'm gluing those little eggs I made around it. Now, I ran into some problems trying to put complete whole eggs all the way around sideways. It just didn't look right, so how I approached that was to cut them in half and then just glue them down that way. Then I take my scissors, trim around the edges, and that's it. I absolutely love this DIY. And of course, I would love to know which ones were your favorites today in this video. this next DIY, I found this bunny template online. It'll be a free printable. And I went ahead and I just traced it off of my TV screen because I wanted it extra big. So I need 2 pieces of computer paper, as you can see. And this is definitely a cardboard craft here because we're going to cover it completely. So there's no reason to use wood unless you want to use wood for the weight. But I just, whenever I can substitute it with a nice quality piece of heavy cardboard, if it's covered, I do. So I just go ahead, cut it out, trace it. Now, this is by no means a new DIY. I've seen these before and I think they're so cute. And believe it or not, I don't have one and I want one. So I thought this was a great opportunity to make one. I'm making it a lot bigger than what the Dollar Tree bunny is. This is very similar to the Dollar Tree bunny, wooden bunny rabbit that they bring out at Easter time, but he's a lot smaller. I wanted this guy to take up pretty much the full, this is the Dollar Tree microfiber cloth you find in the automobile section, and I wanted him to take up almost all of it. So he's really big. He sits about, I think he's about 13.5 inches high. Well, if you get the microfiber cloth, you can kind of tell how big he is because that's a big cloth. You can make a pillow out of it. So I use my handy dandy little Dollar Tree glue stick and I cake it on and I glue one side down and then I put the more glue on the other side and then fold it, as you can see, and I glue the other side down. Now here's what I would do differently, and I recommend you do it the way I'm going to tell you to do it now, especially if you don't have sharp scissors. I would glue one side down first and then cut it and then glue the other side down because I had a heck of a time. I had to keep switching scissors, cutting it because the material is so thick. This is actually one of their better quality items, this microfiber cloth. It's really thick and not easy to cut when it's doubled layered. So as you can see, I end up just cutting it a little bit at a time and then gluing the 2 edges together to form a seam so we cover the cardboard completely. But again, I would do that separately. We're always wiser in hindsight, but it still came up totally cute, and we're finally all done here. So here's my little, this is a pom-pom that my daughter bought from one of the craft stores to be Tinkerbell one year. I used it in another DIY in a previous spring video, and I thought it would make a super cute tail for this bunny. Now this is the back of the bunny, but I don't know about you guys. I had a dog once, and when he got shampooed, they would tie a bow on him and they put it on the back of his neck. So bows do go on the back. I kind of put it on the side so that way it can be interpreted as being either on the side of the neck or possibly in the front, showing from the side. But I just think the bunny looks so much cuter with a bow. I just think, if you don't like it with a bow, leave the bow out, do what makes you happy. I just really like that extra decor. I think it looks super cute. And I chose ribbon, that's Hobby Lobby ribbon right there, that kind of pulls off the French country look I'm going for. Now, because he's all white, I decided to take some of that antiquing wax and just dirty up his tail just a little bit. You know how bunny tails kind of have that cute look sometimes where they're kind of brown and white a little bit? Anyway, he comes up so cute, and he was simple to do, and I've always wanted one, so I love this guy. Here's another great deal, Hobby Lobby. This is $1.59, but again, it measures about 18 inches wide and I believe, or long. It's about 18 inches long and probably be about 7.5 inches wide. So just really worth $1.59. So I took these little Dollar Tree bunnies and I filled in the holes at the top, and I'm just sanding them nice and flat, and all I did was use their lightweight spackling. And now I decided to go ahead and paint the inside of the sign. I didn't want to use the back of the sign on this one. I wanted to use the actual front. So I do a really nice thick coat of my homemade chalk paint. I only need 1 coat because the chalk paint is absolutely fantastic. It covers in 1 coat. And then where I couldn't avoid getting some little extra paint on the inside, I just use that black furniture marker and touch that up. So here's some Dollar Tree napkins. I rarely see flowered napkins at the Dollar Tree, but I was so excited. So I went ahead and grabbed them. I always think flowered napkins tend to kind of unless it's like maybe daisies or something, but if they've got any kind of pink in them like this, they just tend to kind of lend themselves to that French country look. I did some beautiful spring and Easter DIYs last year using some flowered napkins, and I got really lucky and found these at the Dollar Tree. Now, the other napkins I used last year, I found them at the 99-cent store and other places that you guys maybe won't necessarily come across. And as you saw, I pulled it apart, went ahead to use my glue stick, glued them down, cut off the excess, and then used a nail file. That's a great trick for getting in those tight areas where you can't get in with a big sand block. And then I just glued some little black bows down with Dollar Tree ribbon. Now I just kept it pink and black here to go with the theme, and I'm adding some of the black in there to tie it in with the little black bows. That one was hard to spread out, so I had to tack it down with some hot glue. So I added some pink flowers, and then I was playing around with some lavender. Let me know if I should have added the lavender. I decided to take it out because I thought it was a little overkill and it hid the ribbon too much, but I'd like to know what you guys think. Anyway, I love this. What you see here are some scoops from baby formula that I saved from some previous DIYs because I knew what I wanted to do with them. I'm going to go ahead and cut the little handle off using some wire cutters. I get it as flat as I can, and then I use some cuticle cutters. Those are a great tool for crafting, by the way, when you need to get into tiny areas. Some little cuticle clippers. I cut down more, and then I take the sanding block from the Dollar Tree and sand it completely flat, and you literally cannot tell there was ever a handle there. And then I choose to go around and kind of sand the entire thing because we are going to be painting these, and I want the surface to, the paint to adhere to the surface. So we're roughing it up a little bit, and we're giving it a coat of my chalk paint. I mentioned this in a lot of videos, but I use the container from the Folk Art chalk paint to store my chalk paint in because I'm trying to recycle and use everything I have right now. So I'm just painting all of them with the chalk paint, but I always point that out because I did have the Folklore chalk paint though. That is really good chalk paint, but that's my homemade one in the jar right now. So I got these off of Amazon. There'll be a link down below. They're only like $10 and they're absolutely fabulous. They're 100% silicone molds, and I think they're meant for air dry clay, but I'm being like super thrifty and I'm gonna go for it with hot glue, and fingers crossed. I honestly did not know if this was gonna work, and it does. And there we have it right there, a beautiful mold. And I go ahead and make one of those. Now, I'm one of those crafters. I changed my mind a lot, and I encourage you all to do this because that's part of the fun of creating, is to be able to change your mind. But I end up going with this mold instead because I decide that longer one isn't going to look good for what I need, and I make a total of 4. And you also saw me use those cuticle clippers to clean up the edges. They're a great tool for that. Now, this is a sign I found at Ross. Here's a free printable that's going to be off of a blog that I'll leave the link for down below. And I want it big so that it covers my full tray, and I go ahead and I do it on the tissue paper, that simple gift tissue paper that I tape to cardstock and put it through my printer. It's something I've shown in quite a few videos now. At the moment, it's my favorite way to transfer because it's very inconspicuous and super easy to do, and pretty much anyone can participate. If you have a printer, you can put it through and print this and it will print up. And I'm just using the cheapest inkjet printer I found at Walmart, and it works just fine. So don't go spend a lot of money on a printer. You don't really need a lot of, you don't need a fancy printer for this method. So as you can see, I'm using my glue stick. I'm taking my time because we're matching all the seams up, and you'll see in a minute how you can't even see the seams with tissue paper. It's absolutely fantastic. If you take your time and you don't overlap, you literally, it looks like it just looks like one print. Here are some little wooden dowels. These are actually the handles off of the sponges that I use from the Dollar Tree to paint with. When I throw those away, I keep the wooden part because they make great little pieces for DIYs. So I have like hot glue on it I'm picking off there, but I just use a baby wipe, some of the Folk Art antique wax, and we're staining those. And now once those are fully dry, I go ahead and give it a coat of gray paint. It doesn't really matter what gray paint you choose. Whatever gray paint you think looks like metal would work. The real magic happens is when I use this one. It's from Faux. It's a metallic sterling silver. A lot of people ask me about this one because I use it for my galvanizing. I mean, that is the magic right there. Now, I didn't shake it enough, I don't think, so some of the iridescence wasn't quite coming out as strong as it should have been. You really need to stir this up. I actually recommend storing it upside down. So I give it a good dry because we're using nutmeg now from Apple Barrel Paint. That is my absolute #1 favorite color for faux rust. It's a pretty much, you don't need to do anything to it color, and it works great for rust or just making things look antiqued. I know some people might want to go full out there and add some cinnamon to have it that look. I didn't want that because this is actually going to go to my daughter-in-law, and she was kind of telling me what she wanted. She's going to be using it in her kitchen. She loves the way this came out. So I'm using the Gorilla Super Glue and some hot glue to glue those little faux legs down, and that gives it a permanent hold. And while it's drying, I'm gently taking a baby wipe and I'm going to stain around the paper. Now, the reason I do this afterwards is because the tissue paper is transparent, and it'll, at least for me, I didn't want the print to be that dark. You will see the brown through it, so you got to kind of do this at the end. And I also like to go around on the tissue paper a little bit because it helps blend the paper into the wood and make it look even more like a print. And now I'm just taking the Dollar Tree sponge and some of that antique wax, and I'm gently brushing it on the little legs so that they match. And I'm also using the sponge, the little beveled edge there, to do the edges of this wooden piece as well. And this sign is really huge too. This is another one of those big, huge trays. I think my daughter-in-law is planning on using it to either put coffee mugs on in her kitchen or possibly fruit, like bananas or something. She just loves it. She just said, she goes, "Ooh, I want that one. I'm taking that one." So, you know, her maiden name is actually French, so maybe that has something to do with it, but she instantly loved this. So I'm going to go ahead and, as you saw, glue those 4 little pieces I made down in the corner. That gives it that final French look. And then I'm taking those 2 little dowels there, and I'm going to glue some handles on it so you can pick this tray up by some handles. So now I'm just taking some of that black marker from the Dollar Tree, using it to hide the hot glue, and that's it. We're all done. And I absolutely love this one. I know I'm probably going to get some questions about this. I do seal this with polyacrylic. Once polyacrylic is dry, it's a clear varnish, it is food safe. This is some chicken wire that I found at the Dollar Tree. I don't know if it's supposed to be real chicken wire or like cheap chicken wire, or it was over where the plant pots are, so it's possibly for your garden to cover up and protect your fruits from little critters. But I'm using it today to make a super cute DIY. So I'm just going to kind of pick a size that I want and bend it in half, and then use my wire cutters to cut it straight across. And then I'm going to go ahead and take something big. So this is like a plastic vase that I found at the Dollar Tree, but you could use a box, you could use a big, huge, like plastic container, anything that kind of helps you keep the chicken wire open, because you're going to need to kind of spin it and twirl it in like I am on either end. And I'm also going to be taking the bottom corners and kind of rolling them so that they look round, almost like in a purse shape. I'm actually using the wire that came with this chicken wire. It's what wrapped it up. It's a pretty generous piece, and I just cut it in different sections, and I put, I twisted one down at the bottom, in the middle, and at the top. You can also use the actual chicken wire, like the little ends, to twist it around if you want to as well. I think that would hold it. I just did it to be extra careful so that it wouldn't fall apart. And you just have to be patient and keep working with this. So once I had it in a pretty good shape, I took the plastic container out and started bending it in the opposite direction so that it wouldn't curl in on itself. And I just continually shape this, move this, bend this. I did it without gloves. It's not too bad because it's not real chicken wire, but you might want to use gloves if you want to be a little bit rougher with it. And now I'm taking some of the Dollar Tree nautical rope and I just looped it through and then glued it together like this. And then I took some of the same nautical rope, but I took it apart because it comes apart in a whole bunch of different strands. But I just kind of, right there, I just kind of took, see how there's multiple strands? I just kind of took that thickness. It almost looks like there's 3 strands that you can pull apart, but actually there's tons of strands in there depending on how tiny you want to go. So I just kind of took the chunk that looked like one of the 3 and I spun it around the top of that nautical rope to cover it, and then I'm going to glue it. And I did that on both sides to make little handles. Now I'm going to use some of the Spanish moss, like a huge amount of it. And I'm going to shove it in there. That absolutely helps hold it open at that point. And then any little rough edges like this at the top, right there, I'm going to clip them down as far down as I can to make them nice and smooth. And I'll end up bending those little top pieces over as well, just so it's not so pokey, so you don't get poked. That's just to finish it off a little bit. And then you just tuck in your favorite florals. That's it. I decided to use some white roses from the Dollar Tree, and I'm not sure what that greenery is. I think it's supposed to be eucalyptus actually from the Dollar Tree. And a little bit of the boxwood, just different greenery to make it look pretty. And you end up with this beautiful, almost like purse. It's a floral purse, like a floral garden. It looks absolutely gorgeous. So the first thing I want to show you is how I went about painting the pizza pans. This time I didn't spray paint. I did 1 coat of Rust-Oleum chalk paint because that's like more for furniture and I wanted this to be really durable. And I did a 2nd coat. That's a 2nd coat right there. Now I'm going to show you how I print on tissue paper because I do that during this video as well. It is just tissue paper you use for a gift. I'm using painter's tape here, and you tape it as tight as you can without pulling it too hard onto cardstock. We're going to print these 2 prints up right here, and that's how it comes out. I just put it through my printer the right side up so that the ink would print on the tissue paper. And I was showing you how easy it is to remove if you use painter's tape. You don't have to, you can cut it off, but I just wanted to show you that is an option. And now I'm just placing it down where I'd like it to be. I could have just left it all on tissue paper and glued it down because quite frankly the tissue paper is so thin and transparent. I don't think you would even noticed it was tissue paper on the pizza pan, but I went ahead and I cut it out. And now I'm using the Dollar Tree glue stick and I'm gluing it down. The tissue paper I think is less noticeable than the vinyl, like from a Cricut. That's really kind of thick. And you have so many more options. You can print up so many more intricate imagery, and I just love it right now, unless they come up with something better, or I come up with something better. Plus, I know all of you can follow along and recreate these. All of my printables will be down below in my description box today, and they are free printables. Now I'm using the craft sticks I got at Amazon. We are making a little white picket fence, although you can get these at the Dollar Tree. So I'm just starting to cut them into the little top pointy parts there to make it look like a fence. And now I'm just sanding the edges to give them a nice round smooth finish. And I'm going to lay these down and space them out. Now the left hand side there, it isn't glued down. I just laid the craft stick across the bottom, but I am going to go ahead and glue it, as you can see on the right hand side, because I wasn't sure that I should glue both of them, and I was correct. You'll see in a minute. After I glue this down, you're going to see how I actually needed to remove one of the craft sticks. You'll see it right here. I'm going to join it on the other stick. So that side only ended up with 4 craft sticks, and this side ended up with 5. And also, when I place this down on the tray right now and flip it over so that I can get the shape, the circular shape at the bottom so we can cut it to fit, I also realize the 2 end pieces are no longer going to be attached to the bottom. See how that was a higher line up at the top there? Those are going to be glued directly down on the pizza pan. So this really is just taking your time, measuring and placement, and it should all work out. So you can see here I'm taking it apart because I realize, oh, I can't have that on the bottom. I have to cut above it. So that's what I was talking about. It really is a blessing that I can film this because I would have such a hard time explaining what I'm doing. You can see how I put that in place, and now I'm gluing it. I kind of held it down where it needed to be. All of this is done by eye. And I found out the Dollar Tree pizza pans aren't actually all created equal. Some of them are, they have mild imperfections, so you do have to measure as you go. And don't worry if your craft sticks overlap. I'm going to overlap the one at the top right there. I just attached it to the one, that you can see right there in the back. I just attached it at the top, so it's overlapping. You don't notice that at all. And then once you have it together, you can see I'm just pulling the little stakes down and gluing those onto the craft stick. And the last thing I'll do is put a little dot of glue to attach it to either end on those 2 stakes, kind of the free floating stakes that aren't attached to anything right now. I'm doing it right now. I'm going to pull it up and do it that way, and then just secure the rest of it. Again, you'll see what I'm doing. I'm so sorry I can't explain this better. I just hope you can see what I'm doing. And you can slow YouTube videos down. There's an option with playback speed. You can slow me down if you need to see this in slow motion. And that's it. This is how you get that little fence on. So now we're going to give it a nice whitewashed look. And I'm just taking a little bit of the chalk paint and lightly dry brushing, because I didn't want to cover it, make it snow white, because I was afraid it would kind of disappear. I did want the wood to show just a little bit. And then we're going to take some of that nautical rope from the Dollar Tree and just start gluing it around kind of in a half moon shape. I'm just securing it there. But I did think as I was editing this video that I probably could have put the nautical rope all the way around the pizza pan before I put the fence on, and that would have actually provided more material and foundation for the fence to stick to, and it wouldn't affect the final look, because it lays, down below, since it's sticking on the outside of the rim and the nautical rope lays below that, you still would be able to create this craft. And so that's something to keep in mind if you want to recreate this. I probably would put the nautical rope all the way around. It's just I had a different idea for what I wanted to put down below there. So now we're taking that furniture pen from the Dollar Tree in the color walnut, and we're just going to be distressing the edges of the fence a little bit just to make it look, well, I don't know how to, I guess, I always say this, but it is the reason I'm doing it is to make it look a little bit old and worn, because I just think that's a cuter look. Now you can see the middle one, I got a little bit too much on. No big deal, you just sand it off, and that's what we have so far. So I decide that the little top area needs a cute, sweet little pink bow. That's ribbon from Hobby Lobby, 50% off, so it was $2. And I'm taking some of the Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree. I shoved it down inside, and some of this lavender from the Dollar Tree, which I also think is incredibly beautiful. And I'm only going to show this part once in this video because it would get really, really repetitive and boring for you, but I thought you guys might be interested how I put the hanger on the back. I sand the areas I'm going to put the glue down on to rough it up a little bit, and then I'm using duct tape for this because I realize some people may want to hang this outside on a front door, and I want it to be really sturdy for weather. So while the glue is still hot, I kind of put the duct tape down so it all melts together and kind of solders together, and I don't know why, it just seems to be stronger if you do it while it's hot. And then I add a second piece of duct tape on the top there, and I just pinch them really tight in the corners, and it's always worked for me. But we're all done, and I think this came up so cute. For this next one, you're going to need 3 eggs. This is a printable I created, also down below. And I'm using cardstock. I just printed it up on cardstock. You could use cereal box, poster board, whatever you want. And some fabric from Amazon. I believe the link down below in my description box because it's now available. And I'm gluing it down using a glue stick to prevent wrinkling and bubbling. I tend to go with the driest glue. Now, I haven't found a difference between the Dollar Tree glue and like an Elmer's brand name glue, so you can use whatever you want. Just make sure that you are generous with it and you apply plenty of it. If you want to seal this in, go ahead and mist them lightly with a clear varnish or a polyacrylic spray, and then you can go ahead and seal your crafts with whatever you want at that point. You could just do a heavy coat of a polyacrylic spray. I often do that too and skip the Mod Podge if I don't want like a really plasticky look on my craft, and that works as well as a protective barrier. But I know you can, some people will say, oh, you can use hairspray. I used to do that, and then some of my crafts started yellowing as the years went on. So I just wanted to warn you about that. So I avoid hairspray now if I know I'm going to keep a craft. If you're not going to keep a craft and you're just going to use it for that season, hairspray works perfectly fine. So now I'm just taking some Hobby Lobby ribbon that I got on sale for 50% off, and I'm just embellishing the eggs with a combination of Dollar Tree ribbon and Hobby Lobby ribbon. The one I'm going to edge these little eggs in is from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to edge all 3 of them. Using this ruler I got from the Dollar Tree. This is actually a really nice ruler for $1.25. It's metal. I'm going to put some faux shiplap lines on the tray. And then now I'm taking, again, Hobby Lobby ribbon and the nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just doing a little, you'll see what I do. I just roll it around there, glue it, and put these little strips of ribbon around the nautical rope border because I thought that would be a nice accent. So when it comes to gluing my things down, you'll notice I glue one side and then another side, and that's because every time I think I know where I want it and I try to glue it and then put it down, it'll suddenly be crooked or whatever. I like to have my stuff laying down first, positioned totally straight, and then I know it's safe to glue it. And the only way I found that I can glue things is to do it without moving them very much. So I tend to do one side and then the other side. So a lot of you will ask me how I make my bows, and rather than show a tutorial in every video because we make so many bows when we craft, I do have a wonderful video out. It is time stamped, so you can just hit that time and it will take you straight to the bow I'm making now, which is called a floral bow. I took 2 ribbons from Hobby Lobby and looped them together so I would have a nice mix, and now I'm just using a combination of some Dollar Tree flowers that I got and some boxwood that I ordered off of Amazon, and these are some wooden eggs from the Dollar Tree. I decided to just roughly paint little pink stripes on it to make it look cute, and I'm going to glue that on the center of this bow, and we're all done. And I think this one came up so festive and so pretty. For this next one, we're going to go ahead and draw some more stripes, and I'm taking the color Burnt Umber from Apple Barrel Paint and some white chalk paint, and I'm mixing it to make a nice creamy soft taupe color, I guess, or maybe it's like a sand color. I'm not sure what you call that. It's a little darker than beige, and I'm going to make some stripes on this pizza pan. So these are the printouts. I actually drew the bunny from a computer screen. I just laid my paper on top of the computer screen and traced a bunny shape, but I will provide that as a printable. And I went ahead and I printed my rose pattern onto cardstock. So that's our little bunny. And now I'm going to take some of the Dollar Tree nautical rope and glue a trim around this pizza pan. So now I'm using the Dollar Tree pen again in walnut, the furniture pens. This is kind of my to-go-to, but it's not perfect for every form of distressing, but for this it worked just fine. And my also to-go-to Dollar Tree glue stick, and as you can see, I'm gluing the top or the bottom half first and then the top half like I spoke about before to make sure that it's centered. And then this is a big beautiful pom-pom. Thank you to my daughter who had a package of 6. She bought them for a Tinkerbell Halloween costume and she gave them to me, and it was perfect for his tail. I believe she got them at Michael's originally, and I made a little tiny side bow for his neck. And now I'm putting together a messy bow with a combination of Dollar Tree and Hobby Lobby ribbon. And again, this bow is also included in my tutorial video, so you can get more explanation if you want in that video. And I decide that this needs a little tail. It would look cute. So I'm just taking some of that polka dotted ribbon and gluing it down. I'm going to glue the bow in the center, and then I'm going to strategically place the sides down in loops and tack it down with my hot glue so they stay in place. For the finishing touches, I chose to use some Dollar Tree little soft cream flowers, and I put a flower on the bow in the center as well as a pearl from the Dollar Tree in the middle of that flower, and we're all done, and I think he's super cute. Let me know what you think. Birds seem to be really a hot trend this spring and Easter, and so I made this printable here, and I'm showing you how I split it up on 2 different pieces of paper when it printed up so that it would fill up more of my pizza pan surface. You don't have to do that, but I did it in paint.net, and I do have a video that shows how to do it. It's a Christmas video where I make a reindeer, and I can leave that down below in my description box as well if you want to know how I did that. So I'm showing you how I used masking tape on the back because it didn't make any difference. This is printed up on regular computer paper, and it was thick enough that I knew I could get away with masking tape to hold it together because I wanted to make sure the top and the bottom of the birdies didn't slip. You know, I wanted their bodies to be aligned, and I knew with tissue paper that might not, work because that's really transparent once you glue it down. So I went ahead and used a glue stick for that as well, glued it down, and now I'm using some of this Folk Art antiquing wax. I love this brand. It's super cheap, and I think it works just as good as the other brand. The other brands that are more expensive, they're all just nice antiquing wax. They're really slippery and slidey and perfect for faux wood. So you'll see I paint it on, and then I take a little bit of a tissue and wipe it off to make it a bit softer, and then I even start to apply it with the tissue too, just to make sure it stays nice and soft, and I have a little more control that way, and we give this a nice edge. And now I'm taking my first row of nautical rope, and I'm going to go ahead and apply it around the edge. We're going to be doing a total of 2 rows of nautical rope, but we're going to be using the brown nautical rope, and now we're going to be using the white nautical rope. So if we just leave it as is, you can see the seam a little bit in real life, and the way you disguise it is you go ahead and take a little bit of white paint and dry brush it, and that hides it perfectly. Now I went a little heavier on the S than I wanted to. You can see that, the bird singing part, and all I did was wet a little bit of tissue and wipe it off while it's still wet, and it came off just fine, and that's it. We're going to start embellishing this, but that's how you go about hiding the seam. So here's some more Hobby Lobby ribbon, another messy bow, and we're going to glue that on the top. Add some pretty greenery. Again, it's a mix of the Dollar Tree, those little yellow, I think they're like little mini roses maybe. I'm not sure what flowers those are. If someone knows, please make a comment down below. And some boxwood from Amazon. And this time I wanted to keep it natural and earthy. I just left the wooden eggs, El Naturel, and glued them side by side. This is actually my daughter's favorite today. She took this one, and I did seal it with a clear varnish. For this next one, I used the leftover paint I had mixed to paint the inside a soft beige color or tan color, and I ended up doing something different, so you can skip this part, but I wanted to show it to you just in case it makes a difference in the outcome. I don't think it would, but just in case. So I've been having a lot of you request that I make a religious Easter decor piece, so I thought I would do that today. I'm taking this Dollar Tree wooden cross and some of the Dollar Tree Mardi Gras beads, also called mariachi beads here on the West Coast, and I'm gluing them around the edge of this cross. Now you'll see here I'm taking and putting little beads of hot glue in between each one of those beads to make sure it's nice and sturdy. I'm going to take some of the Dollar Tree lightweight spackling and just fill in the top hole, and then I'm going to give this cross one coat of white chalk paint. And it does take a little bit of time because there's lots of nooks and crannies between the beads, and my favorite well, I guess it's not really a brush, it's a sponge, but my favorite way to get in between those nooks and crannies are these sponges here from the Dollar Tree, because they do have the beveled thin edges, and that allows you to turn it sideways and kind of smush the paint in there, and that way you don't miss any spots. I'm using some elephant gray from apple barrel paint just to dry brush the beads and kind of make them look a little distressed. I really wanted to keep this true to my decor style. This was one of the more challenging pizza pan crafts in this film because what I saw online, I didn't like what I saw online, the color combinations, and I wanted to keep, like I said, true to my decor style and make, a beautiful rustic cross here. So what I ended up doing was finding this sheet of paper online. It's the Hem Amazing Grace, and it's on antique paper, and I printed it up on tissue paper. So I just show you how I did my tissue paper method at the very beginning of the video. If you missed that, go ahead and rewind all the way to the beginning. And I'm just cutting it off here, and I'm not worried about whether this is even or not, because as you see, I'm going to start tearing it in a bunch of little pieces, and then I'm just going to start placing those little pieces on the pan to get an idea where I'd like to glue them down. I'm now taking the elephant gray and just lightly dry brushing, kind of a distressed look, I guess. You can see I've missed spots here and there. That's what I wanted. That was the look I was going for. I just did the border in the gray, and now I'm taking the Dollar Tree glue stick and I'm going to apply heavy coats of it, nice and thick, and start placing the music paper down to cover all of the inside of the pizza pan. And just to distress this a little tiny bit more, I took some more of the elephant gray and lightly, very lightly dry brushed just a little bit on the surface. I didn't even hit every single area, just here and there. And now I'm taking some more of the Dollar Tree nautical rope in white, or maybe that's cream, the nautical rope. I'm not sure what color that is. I always call it white. It's an off-white maybe, or a cream white. And I'm putting a border around the tray. Using a generous amount of hot glue, I'm going to go ahead and glue the cross down in the center of the tray. This is some ribbon from Hobby Lobby, and I made a 2-loop bow and then a floral bow from the gingham print gray one, and then I glued that in the center. I'm just going to glue that at the bottom of the cross, fluff it out a little bit. I decide that it would look better if it has some ribbon tails, so I go ahead and I use some extra ribbon just to glue some tails at the bottom later. You'll see in the video. But for now, I'm taking some of this beautiful lavender that they have at the Dollar Tree. They have some really pretty lavender this year at the Dollar Tree. I think they got complaints from one year when it was all falling apart, the petals. They were all falling off. So now it's really, really sturdy and nice. And I'm just wrapping the bottom of it with a little bit of the Dollar Tree twine. I'm going to glue that in the center of my cross because I thought that was a perfect embellishment. And you'll see me glue the bottom of the ribbon on now. I just dovetailed the ends of them, put 2 pieces on. One has wire, one doesn't, so they lay really pretty. And now I decide that that one little area there that was missing music was bothering me, so I went ahead and added some more music notes to that area. And we're all done. This actually ended up being one of my favorites in this video, considering I didn't know where I was going with this. I think the colors and the feel, I hope the camera does it justice because it came up absolutely stunning. And this was gifted to my daughter's mother-in-law. Happy Easter. For this one, I am using the jumbo craft sticks from Walmart, and I'm using 4 of them, and I just start off by cutting the bottoms off nice and even and straight, and then using a medium craft stick to hold it all together. And I'm just cutting the ends of that off. So next, I'm going to take my ruler, draw a triangle shape at the top. We're going to be making a little like roof here, and then I'm going to cut that too. Now when I cut those, they do splinter because it's really hard for me to nibble, and I'm using, as you can see, Dollar Tree scissors. And the craft sticks from Walmart, the jumbo ones, are a little better quality, so they're really hard to cut. But it doesn't matter, you guys, if it splinters, because what we're going to do with this, you're not going to see the rooftop anyway. I do go ahead and sand it because I don't want to get splinters, but it's not a big deal, so don't panic if your wood splinters. And that's what we have so far. So now I'm taking a Kleenex and I take it apart. You know, it comes in like 2 pieces, and I'm spraying it with water. And I showed you the glue I was planning on using from the Dollar Tree, the spray glue, but it was clogged. So luckily I had bought that purple spray-on glue, and I ended up using this. It ended up being better because I could see where I sprayed, so that worked out. But you can see what happens when the moisture hits it. See how it's wrinkling up? I've never done this before, but I just had a feeling it would work, and it did. Because we're always trying not to get wrinkles, and in this case I wanted them because I wanted it to mimic bark on a tree. So now those little raised edges there, you know, it's dry now, I'm taking sandpaper to sand those off and kind of shred them open, because you know how bark has that look? It kind of lifts and it shreds, and I don't know, I hope you guys know what I'm talking about, but that's kind of what bark looks like if it's been outside. It gets that look. So I'm doing my best to imitate that. So I'm using the elephant gray to start with to dry brush and bring out those designs, and now I'm using some of the antique wax to finish off the rest of my distressing. This actually ends up looking a little bit like birch wood, even though I didn't mean for it to, but it comes up beautiful. So at first I think, you know what, I'm just gonna make like a roof on the top here. I'll just stain it, but I ended up changing my mind, and it's probably good there's some shadow underneath there anyway, but I'm just showing you the whole process of what I ended up doing. I took a little bit of the wax, I made a little hole there, and then a little bit of the elephant gray. I painted on top of that, and then a little bit more of the wax to outline, and just made it look like a nice little birdhouse. You know how it has a little hole for the birds to go inside? And now we're using the foam eggs from the Dollar Tree. I took them off their little stake there to remove the ribbon and painted them white. Now I was just going to paint them with the Dollar Tree blue paint. This is blue paint from the Dollar Tree. It's that acrylic paint that I rave about. This is more like a glaze. I don't know if I got a faulty one or what, but it's basically see-through, so it didn't cover the eggs like I had wanted them to, but it ended up being better because I think they would have been too dark, and instead I ended up with this really light blue, which looks more natural. When you're talking about eggs in the wild, that's a better blue, so it all worked out. And I drew the shiplap lines on the trays you saw, and now I'm taking some of the Spanish moss, and that's going to be our rooftop. So I decided that looked prettier, so I'm just gluing it on the top, giving it a little bit of a haircut so that it's not too wild and woolly. And then I'm going to take some hot glue, glue the 2 little sticks on the back there that I had used originally, and glue it down. Now I do end up lowering this birdhouse. Originally I was going to make everything kind of bottom centered and focused, but I decide it looks better not to do that. So I end up pulling it off, repainting the pizza pan, letting it dry, and then gluing my birdhouse lower. But for now, this is what I do, because when I take it off, the whole thing stays together, so I have to show you this part. I put more Spanish moss on the bottom. This is going to be the little nest, and now we're going to use those eggs that we cut in half and glue those on. So this is what we have so far. And then here you can see me repositioning it down lower now because the nest didn't end up being as big as I had thought. I thought I was going to kind of fill in the bottom with a nest, and like a bow. Kind of have a bow at the bottom of the nest, but I just decided I wanted the bow at the top. So what I did here was I just made 2 floral bows, one bigger out of the polka dotted ribbon and one smaller out of the burlap ribbon, and glued them, glued the small one on top of the bigger one, and then I glued the little tails in there, and again strategically kind of looped them and tacked them down with hot glue. And now I'm adding in some Dollar Tree little soft beige flowers in the center of the bow. And for those of you that watch my channel, I've done this many times. I'm taking one of the jumbo craft sticks and deliberately cutting the edges jagged and trying to splinter them to make it look like an old sign. And I'm using the antique wax to distress it a little bit, pencil to write out my word first. Now, normally I would write Easter on this or maybe spring, but I liked this one so much that I am going to keep it up all year round, so I went with the word home instead. And a neat little trick here, if the ink bleeds into the wood beyond your control, you just take the tip of a utility knife and scrape it off, and you can get that edge nice and clean again. So I go ahead and glue this on the top, and I make the twine hanger a little bit longer on purpose because I think that looks super cute. I love this one. Let me know which ones were your favorite. Found this beautiful apple pie sign from Hobby Lobby. It was reduced down to $1.99, and it's a great deal because this sign is huge. It stands about 20 inches tall and about 10 inches wide, so it's beautiful. There were some staples on the back that needed to be removed, as well as some paper, so I removed the staples, sanded the paper off, and then I'm just going to give it a coat of my homemade white chalk paint. Now, I also like the front of this sign, so I thought I don't really want to totally make it where I can't use both sides, so this sign is going to be reversible, and the one I'm making can be kept up all year round in the kitchen, or the other side can be all year round in the kitchen. So I start off with this Dollar Tree liner here, and I was actually inspired by this craft here off of Pinterest. She makes these little rustic carrots out of the Dollar Tree liner, and I just thought it was absolutely adorable. So I start off by tracing a carrot shape, and then I'm using the Dollar Tree napkins, but I'm actually using the white part from the napkins. But I thought, waste not, want not, just use it because I try to use everything I have, and I'm also trying to give you guys ideas on how you can use everything you have in your craft supply as well. Most people don't use the bottom part of the napkin when they peel it apart for using it to Mod Podge, and it's a great filler. So I just glue the carrot together, stuff it with a napkin, and then I'm using some greenery at the top. Now, I created this little sign here. It's actually from an antique carrot seed package. So I think it says something about carrot seeds in French, and I thought it would be fun to kind of try and guess what the words say. I didn't want to Google Translate them ahead of time. So for those of you that don't speak French, you can have a guess with me. I'm guessing they say something about large, extra large carrots in a color. I want to say red. The rouge is like red, but it might mean orange in French. My French isn't that good, you guys. But if somebody knows, leave a comment down below because I thought that would be fun. And I decided that I wanted some Spanish moss at the top, just like the inspirational piece. I do think that looks really cute, and it covers the lip. At first, I was just going to leave that little lip at the top, but I definitely think the Spanish moss looks better. So I just crunch it up, and I glue it on the front and a little bit on the back, and then I'm going to go ahead and stick my greenery in again. So I wanted to go ahead and use something to wrap around the carrot. So I went with twine because that's a little bit more neutral, and I wrapped a little bit up at the top, just kind of crisscrossed it, no specific way. I just crisscrossed it a little bit, and then I thought it would be cute to wrap it at the bottom of the carrot as well. And then, as you can see, I glue all three of those down inside the sign. So I wait to put the words at the top because I wanted to make sure that my greenery wasn't going to cover the words, and I do end up putting some more Spanish moss at the bottom just so the carrots kind of look like they're sitting in a field. This is definitely like a rustic craft or primitive craft a little bit because it's the neutral colors, but I think it came up so cute. And I'm taking the antique wax now, and any antique wax will work for this, and I'm just distressing the edge of the border, and I wanted to distress the carrots a little bit, and I also kind of wanted to make them look maybe a little bit warmer, like natural carrot. I didn't want them to be that bright orange, but I didn't want them, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but they're very bright white in real life, and so I just wanted to tone them down a little bit and do the edges. Normally I would have done this before, but as I was crafting and I glued them down, I realized with the white white background and everything, they just didn't pop enough for me anyway. In real life, I just felt like it was just too much white. So then I do the same thing around the words. I'm just antiquing it a little bit and distressing it just to give it a little bit of character and just, charm. And that's pretty much it. Then you're going to see me go on to make some flower little piece there for the top to cover the hanging hook, because if you remember in the beginning, I said I do want this to be reversible, so I didn't want to take the hook at the top right there off, or I won't be able to turn the sign around. So I just take a little bit of Dollar Tree florals, wrap it up in twine, and glue it on to hide it. I can always pop that off easily, and it's one of my favorites in today's video. For this project, I asked my daughter to send me some of her baby formula cans because I knew it would be much easier to work with since they're made out of cardboard for the look that we're going to go for today. So the first thing I did was remove the bottom with a can opener, and then you can see that I'm starting to use my hands just to press it down. I'm going to go ahead and remove the paper. See how it's like a cardboard there? It's got a perfect blank slate for craft pictures or anything you want to put on it. I love these containers. If you can think of any other containers like this that are cardboard, I think like hot cocoa is cardboard like this. Coffee sometimes comes in this. It's way, way easier to make these little pocket cans. That's what we're doing today. And I did take some needle nose pliers and some regular pliers too, just to squeeze the end down. It doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as it looks closed. And see that little piece of paper sticking up? If that happens to you, no big deal. Just wait for the paint to dry and you can shave it off with a utility knife or a craft knife. Here's a free printable. I went ahead and printed it up on tissue paper. The printable will be down below in my description box. I love using the tissue paper method for transfers because it allows you to use really beautiful imagery that's detailed, and it looks almost like it's painted on because the tissue paper is transparent. So I am leaving it on the cardstock so you can see what I did here. I just used masking tape. I taped the tissue paper down on the cardstock, put it through my printer, the right side facing up so that it will print down on the tissue paper, and that's it. It's that easy. I cut it out, and now I'm using a glue stick from the Dollar Tree to apply it to the front of my craft. I'm taking the Dollar Tree cuticle clippers and just twisting them back and forth to put some holes on the side. Super easy to do, easier than a can. And the other thing I really like about the cardboard is that you can get it into a nice graduated pocket so it looks more like a pocket. The can pockets that I've been seeing on Pinterest, some of them, not all of them, but when they pound the bottom, the top is too round and bulky and it looks a little bit distorted. So you don't get that so much with these because obviously they're easier to smash down. So I'm just taking a little bit of the antique wax and I'm dry brushing the front and the back. Now comes time to decorate these. These are so much fun to decorate. I have to be honest, I actually felt like making 50 of these and I couldn't because I didn't have time, but I think these are so cool. So I'm taking some Hobby Lobby ribbon that I got 50% off, and I'm just going to trim the edge of this with the little lace ribbon. It's not really lace. I don't know what you call that. It was in the lace section, but it's almost like a crochet cord with designs, or I'm not sure. It's more like somewhere between like a crochet and lace, but the Dollar Tree lace ribbon would have worked beautifully too. I just didn't have any. And now I'm using some of this green raffia. I got a great deal on Amazon. Again, the link is down below in my description box if you're interested. It comes in green, red, and then that nice neutral kind of brownish color, tan color, and it's so strong and thick and really kind of performs more like ribbon than it does raffia. It doesn't break. I'm really pleased with it, and it happened to be like one of the cheaper ones to choose from. So if you're interested, you can go check it out. So I take and cut 9 strands in the same length, and then I grouped 3 of them together so they're a little thicker, and I went ahead and taped it onto my table, and then I braided it all the way down to make a cord, and we're going to use this to hang this little pocket here. I'm just pushing it through the holes from the inside, and I decided to leave the green like little tassel out on the edge to add to the look. I just thought it looked so cute when I was done, and I just tie a knot on the outside of those tassels so that they don't come out, and I am going to use a little hot glue to secure them down because I don't want them sticking straight out to the side. I want them hanging down like kind of like naturally, like a tassel would if it was made out of yarn or twine. So I glued them down, and then I put a little paper towel in there to fill it up just a little bit, and now I added some Spanish moss on top. And then I'm just going to start adding florals, you guys. It's that simple. These are Dollar Tree roses. They're so beautiful. The greenery right there I also found at the Dollar Tree. Kudos to them because I think that greenery is prettier than the one you see, the boxwood on the side that you see me putting in there. I mean, it's very pretty, but I got that one on Amazon. Again, the link is down below. But I'm just going to go ahead and fill this up with different florals. The neat thing about these too is you can make them seasonal. You can change the print. You can use seasonal florals. Really, really fun. Again, this is some ribbon from Hobby Lobby, 50% off. I made a cute little bow with 2 of them. If you want to know how I make my bows, I have a video called 10 bow hacks. It covers every single bow I ever make in any video so that I didn't have to do individual tutorials each time I do the video, and they are time stamped. So this is just your classic bow if you want to go check it out. But we're all done, and I absolutely love this. Another great deal at Hobby Lobby. I think I spent $1.59 on this sign, and it was originally like $14.99. And I don't know if you noticed when I turned it sideways, it was really thick. So I thought it would be really fun to use some of the jumbo craft sticks from Walmart and start creating little shelves for this and make it into a window box. Now, I also used a blow dryer. You can also use a heat gun to remove the stickers. That's a really easy way to get your stickers off. And also you can use, like if you don't have a blow dryer or heat gun for some reason, you can use some baby oil. Now, baby oil is usually made out of mineral oil, which is a petroleum based product, so it's a great solvent. It works to get all kinds of goo off, from labels to price tags, you name it. I have been using baby oil for 20 years now. It's my to-go-to. Usually I don't want to ruin my manicure, so I kind of shy away from acetone, and then I don't like working with things like goo off because it is a chemical. You know, I limit it as much as possible. So I don't know if you guys know that. It's a great little tip. So I'm just using glue here, hot glue. It's actually the color blue coming out because I ran out of the clear hot glue sticks, but it ended up being a great thing because it helped me see exactly where the glue was. So I really glued them down nicely, and I knew I was going to paint this box anyway. And I go ahead and give it a coat of white chalk paint. It's my homemade chalk paint again. You can find that down below in my description box. Now I'm using the Dollar Tree spackling, and it is mixed with a little bit of my chalk paint. This is their lightweight spackling, and it's a little too fluffy and light for me. I like it to be more like the regular spackling, so that's a trick you can do too. You just add, probably in that container I stirred in maybe, honestly, probably like 1/8 of a cup of paint and stirred it all around, and it keeps it from drying out, and it still works perfect as a spackling filler. Now, these are some butterflies from the Dollar Tree. I was actually after their little cloth mini butterflies, but they only had the stickers, so I went ahead and picked them up because I want to show you my idea, and I just won't glue those down. I'll stick them down and wait for the cloth ones to come in and then replace them when the time comes. For now, I decided my box needed a little light distressing, so I used some burnt umber again from Apple Barrel Paint and gave it a nice little soft distressed look. And here I'm just going to lay things down kind of roughly and decide where I want everything to go. I'm not making any commitments just yet. These are the hearts from the Valentine's Day collection at the Dollar Tree. I just saved 2 of them. They're the raw wood ones, and I thought that would be cute to put in the top there. And then these are also the wooden eggs from the Dollar Tree, which I lightly distressed with some antiquing wax, but you certainly could do it with brown paint. And then I ended up taking one of the lavenders out of the window there because I thought it just kind of made it too busy and full. And I just stuck some little clippings in for the flowers. So I wrapped one up to look like a bouquet to the right. Then I stuck some lavender down and some little greenery there. And I decided to cover the ugly bottom with, the stems. I would add a little bit of the Spanish moss, but not in every window because again, I thought that would be overkill. So I just go with a little Spanish moss at the bottom. And in the end, I end up just gluing one of those eggs down. Now, those are also from the Dollar Tree. They're the foam eggs. I painted them to look like wild bird eggs, but that's it. We're all done. And I think it came up beautiful. Next, we're back to the Hobby Lobby sign. This was another great deal, $1.59, and I'm freeze framing it here so you can see it's $15.99 originally. Again, I had some blurring issues when I try and show it because I forgot it was on the automatic, it was on fixed focus instead of automatic focus. And I'm also using the Dollar Tree little mason jar there that they're putting out now for all the seasons, so that's pretty easy to find. And we're going to start off by giving the inside of this one coat of my homemade white chalk paint. Next, I'm going to use a super tiny little screwdriver to remove the top part. I got so caught up in this craft, I actually forgot about it. For a while there, I thought I would leave it on too, but I don't like the other side, so this will not be a reversible sign. But anyway, another print up on tissue paper, and this time I'm using the water method to tear it off because I want the edges to be really shredded like a napkin. You just use a little bit of water on a paintbrush, go around the edges and lightly pull, and it will give you a nice shredded look on the edge of your tissue paper. I'm using a glue stick to glue it down, and that's what it looks like. And then I decide I want this sign to look a little 3D. So I take 6 of the towering wooden blocks, glue 3 of them together in a row, and glue it on the underside so that it will kind of lift this mason jar up. I reattach the little metal part on the top, and I'm just going to distress the edges of this mason jar with a little bit of gray paint from Apple Barrel Paint. Again, any gray color will work, and I also distress the edges. Now I do go in and I paint my towering blocks white because I kind of want them to blend in and disappear. And now I'm taking some of the antique wax. I use the one by Faux Art. If you try and do it just dry, it kind of sticks and smudges. If you want it to get like a wood grain look like this where it's nice and soft, which is what I wanted, you need to add a little bit of water to your antique wax. And I go ahead and brush it on, and you can see what I ended up with. And now I decide to tie a little bit of twine around the top of the mason jar just for some added cuteness. And I hold it down with a craft stick in the back, and I'm going to glue my mason jar down. Now I just grabbed a bunch of my favorite florals from the Dollar Tree, and I cut them up into little short stems, shorter so the stems won't hang out the bottom. Although I am planning on putting some Spanish moss on the bottom underneath, but I'm just creating this beautiful flower arrangement here, and I think it came up absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if the camera does this one justice, but this is one of my favorites for sure. It is stunning in real life. It's super heavy, and I don't know, against the wood. I want to do something different than shiplap because, I did a lot of shiplap in my previous videos, and I'm assuming a lot of you have that in your home already. So I thought just wood grain with the flowers would make it pop, and it sure did. I'm adding my Spanish moss, giving it a little bit of a hair trim, and that's it. We're all done. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help my channel get seen more here on YouTube and helps my channel grow. And as always, until the next video, breathe deep, fret not, and do things that make you happy.